versus Botvinnik. Starting off on Death Aura in the top left. As the pink Zerg, he is Stephano. In the bottom right, going for a good old-fashioned 2-racks. It is the yellow Terran, Botvinnik. Alright, 2-racks it is. Perhaps a little bit frustrated after the last TvZ he played, or might just think Stephano's a little bit weak to the early rushes. Both are fair. Third option is just, why not in 10 TvZs? You'll probably see 1 2-racks, so that makes sense too. Makes sense. The Overlord is headed in a very good direction, but it needs to maybe go a little bit more north. I think it'll see it. Like the edge of this one, right? Overlord vision is kind of overpowered. Oof, it's definitely saw it. Whew. I underestimated it, in fact. Ha! So, nice Overlord positioning. This one was also checking around for the 2-rack. So this one gets to go back and just hover. It didn't go farther back. Maybe there would have been a 3rd racks over here, but it is just kind of trusting it is just a 2-racks. You can see how many SCVs and how many Marines come upwards anyway. Question is, did Botvinnik see that he was scouted? I think maybe... No, I don't think so. Finished buildings have a much larger vision range than unfinished buildings. So he doesn't know he was scouted, but it's something you have to consider. The 2-racks is not that committed, really. So you got to consider having, the ability to pull back and play out a macro game. With the very, very fast drone pool, he knows that he's been scouted in one way or another. In this case, the Overlord also was over that pillar. And is going to pull back to the barracks. SCV gets fully surrounded, but is taking all the shots at the Marines. Oh my god, they lived! He's taking all the shots at the Marines anyways, which is a good thing. Now, it lived with like 5 health, so it's not going to be able to build this bunker. But at least Botvinnik didn't lose his Marines. At least he gets to kill 3 drones and even cancel a spine crawler. No way the bunker should ever live. No way, no how, but a 4th and 5th drone go down? 6th? 7th? Okay, finally the SCV goes down. That was getting a little bit scary. Jesus. Ooh, 7 drones. And the spine crawler might die? No. Okay, well that definitely shouldn't have died. In the same way the bunker should never have finished. So good things those happened. But still, 7 drones and a spine crawler was made. The fact that it died, it would have been really terrible. But the fact that it was even made at all is not ideal for what was, again, like, 2-racks. It wasn't the super committed thing. So this actually is a good opener for Botvinnik. Question is, how do they capitalize on it? That's a bit of the tricky part. So he is going to go for a starport instead of just right into like a 3rd CC, for instance. But the 3rd CC could come down pretty quickly since he isn't getting a 2nd gas. I don't know, I'd be pretty happy with this. I feel like it's not a confirmed, but I feel when seeing the spine crawler and a very small amount of lings, right? They're clearly trying to commit only what is necessary to pushing that back and nothing more, nothing less. I would feel very confident there wasn't a Ling Baneling bust on its way, which, is something to consider. The starport, I think, is less about being scared of roaches or something like that, and more about doing the Hellion drop follow-up, which makes sense. There's that faster 3rd command center I was talking about. So, I feel very good about this game. If I was good at 2-racks, if I actually was good at this game, I'd feel confident. And luckily, Botvinnik is pretty good. So, Stephano, I said he didn't want to over-defend nor under-defend. He kind of under-defended a little bit twice. A little bit of miss-micro on the drones here, and then having to pull the drones again, because I was getting a little sketch. Those are what's the under-defending caused him there. It wasn't perfect. And the spine crawler, what I would say would be usually an over-defense, ended up kind of helping, but just not making up for the initial under-defense. Lots of over and unders here. Hellions still gonna be able to unload, and Stephano does not have that many lings. 6 more on the way. Enough to at least, yeah, stall out the Hellions. Really, it's crazy how much 20 lings can't do in a single line against Hellions, and how much 5 lings can do when they got a concave on Hellions. You know what I mean? Gosh darn. Stephano with very little scouting on the other side of the map because he pulled his Overlord back to scout this, and then wait, did he lose his Overlord? Oh, he lost the other one. I was like, well, didn't another one go somewhere? I thought maybe it was this one, but no, his Overlord looks like it dipped into the natural to get the scout in the main and then died to the Marines returning home. Am I incorrect on that? Well, anyways, he doesn't have a lot of scouting. This is my point, as I was getting to. He doesn't have a lot of scouting, so he kind of has to default build at least 1 or 2 Spore Crawlers in case it is something pretty nefarious. Not to mention, if it's Banshees, Spore Crawlers are great, but if it's Liberators, which is also pretty likely, they'll be the most helpful thing to have. So 2 Spore Crawlers that don't do very much to help him. Stephano only up by about 7 workers as he builds another Spore Crawler. A couple extractors came down. Double drop already prepared with Hellions on the front line. A wall with engineering bays is being finished up here to block out those lings. Nicely timed too, so it's going to be repaired. No problem there. Does delay the push by about 5 seconds as he makes sure he's repairing, but now he also knows that there's a bunch of lings on the side of the map. Stephano does not have any banelings. He has no baneling nest. He is pretty underdefended, underprepared for this. Spinecrawler is alive, you know, from the earlier section, but it's not even going to help with this push. Transfuses on Queens only will last so long against, I think, about 12, 14 Marines there. And the Hellions still alive to help barbecue the lings. This is an excellent follow-up, all while Botvinnik was going up to 3cc anyways. Yeah. Maybe Stephano can hold. You know, these Marines don't have combat shields, I guess. They could be overstimmed, but yikes. You know, just yikes. He still has 2 medevacs because the one that was dropping the Hellions lived as well, so it's still in play. And, well, that's a lot of damage. 52 lings, 5 queens are dead, and the Marines are still alive now going after the upgrades. They're not going to be able to get that. They do turn and fire on those lings, but the lings finally got a decent surround. Without the help of the queens, though, as they lost their lives earlier, the medevacs just freely scoot on by. And that's going to be a sad thing to see, as a bunch of SCVs going to a 3rd CC. Stephano knows how bad a position he's in now. I mean, I think it was a little bit questionable, like maybe if I do all the right things from here on out, I can recover from that earlier game, but after that, I don't think there's really a lot of recovery. Prove me wrong, Stephano. This guy definitely has a championship mentality. He's one of the true ballers of Starcraft 2, in every sense of the word, as a player and as a human. I gotta say that Stephano is he's a pretty cool baller. So I guess you're not supposed to ever count him out, but the truth of the matter is, from his historic player, I guess, skill level and just the intimidation factor that he had, the star power, that's sort of what the star power he had back in 2012, both in the, again, personal sense as well as the player sense, where he just seemed like he had his own will, would actually change the course of the game. It's been a while since that's been the case. Doesn't really feel like Stephano makes things happen just because he wants them to happen anymore. So he's got a lot to do here. He is getting his creep spread back up. Wasn't really the target of Botvinnik's push, so that can help out in the future. Trying to defend against the drop on the main base. He was about to let go of it, and then he was like, oh, there it goes. There it is. And now, since he was a little prepared, ooh, the target fire was pretty good. Only 1 Baneling is left over, and that's going to be the GG. GG. Banelings were so close to being there on time. I would say they usually are, but Botvinnik actually played a little bit around that and focus fired. That was kind of impressive. GG. That was a better start for the Turax than it was supposed to be, is what started that game off. So, oh well. I feel like I heard something. But it's nothing. It's nothing. Eternal Empire is our next map. Botvinnik looking a lot better. Thanks to a very nice early start there. We'll see what happens in more of a normal macro game. Don't think Botvinnik does a T-Rax twice in a row, even though Stephano mishandled it, despite the perfect scout. No SCVs being sent out. There you go. In the top right, as the pink Zerg, he is Stephano. And the bottom left, as the yellow Terran, it is Botvinnik. Wee woo, wee woo. Alright. I guess since nothing much is happening, we're just gonna go ahead and look at this SCV while I put on a pot of tea. Even though, I don't know why you say that. Like, you boil the water, and then you put the tea in it, but you don't boil the tea bag in. Anyways, be right back. Alright, now where are the guys in chat here yelling at me for not being present in the first 2 minutes of a Starcraft game? Excuse me, streamer? Excuse me? You have to be present at all times? Even when, doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Not even anything a little bit interesting to talk about quite yet. We're kind of waiting on to see if there is going to be a second gas for Botvinnik. There will not be, actually. I can already tell you that. So that's the first interesting thing. Is that going to be a third CC. Second gas actually goes down for a starport at like 20 or 21, right? So, okay, I could have told you that. A little bit faster, I guess. Otherwise, Stephano goes for a third hatch, and it is going to be a macro game, obviously. Marine there to try and stall it, and Overlord is trying to get a cheeky little peek in. But honestly, if Stephano just put his Overlord on the back, it'd be a very easy scout. Which some Zerg players do, and Stephano is actually doing as well. Still not a fast enough scout to really change up his plans. Like, the only time you ever really see someone react to a third CC is when the Overlord is already there, and then the third CC goes down. This is still a little too slow. He's already pumped out more drones for his third hatch. And now it's a matter of just continuing to do so. Sees a third CC even as he runs away from the Marine. No loss of Overlord. Roach Warren is coming down, but I still would say it's not... I still don't think it's that... I don't think it's time to be on his side. Like, I mean, maybe it's a little bit later of an attack. Right? Because this does seem like a reaction to the third CC. But I guess if it's a little bit later, it's still the surprise factor is supposed to be what kills you anyways. So, I mean, maybe Stephano's actually going to react to this. You will have to make sure that it's not scouted by these units. Best thing for Botvinnik to do here, if he doesn't get the scout, is to go ahead and just swap over immediately after 4 or 6 Hellions to build a tank to do the safe version of a third CC. Hear that lift off. Okay, so he's going to swap it to its own tech lab, which I guess should have been stated, actually. You don't want to take up your stim timing. Roaches are on the way. Hellions push away the first few Lings. But unfortunately, the Lings still cause these units to come back, and that's exactly what he wants. He doesn't want the Hellions in the middle of the map, seeing the Roaches move across. 11 Roaches on the way. The Lings don't exactly want to lose their lives for this, necessarily, as they are what often comes up behind those Roaches to really do the damage. But Botvinnik is not doing the greediest possible 3cc build. He is doing certainly one of the greedier versions. He is getting a tank, but he isn't getting a wall at the front. He does have a Liberator, but doesn't have a wall at the front. That's really the main problem. His wall at the quote-unquote fronts isn't even done, and yeah, the surprise factor is going to work out fast enough. I didn't give enough credit to what this could be. I still think that the fact that he went for a tank immediately is going to really help him live. But, no, don't put the tank on the low ground. No, don't do that. But this is going to be really bad. Hellions should have already made it to the main base, I feel. Same with the SCVs. Or not. Or not. Stephano actually getting to that high ground before making his Ravagers just cost him 1 or 2. Liberator does come back. Viking even comes back after being injured by the Queens to at least help a little bit. I still think defending the low ground at all is playing with fire, but we'll see what happens. Raise the depots! Lots of Lings getting barbecued, but still a lot of them left over. The natural SCDs are definitely going to go down. Ravagers first using a Corrosive Bile on the tank, then on the Liberator, and then back to that tank. Gonna take 2 more shots from the kill it. They're not gonna be able to provide that vision. Oop, oop. There it is, there it is, there it is. But you know what? You know what? You know what? Okay, we'll have 14 or 15 SCVs that could be killed. It's like, surprisingly not all of the natural SCVs died, but then they did, so. I was like, you know, 6-9, that's not bad. And then it went to 15, and now it's up to 17. Now 19, and on its way up to 20. Okay. Alrighty then. So that is all the natural SCVs dead. Now 25 workers. This one was a question mark. Now 25 workers is actually good enough. It's not amazing. It's like amazing is getting into the main base, getting the main SCVs as well, and jumping on top of production. That's amazing / game over, right? 25 SCVs, the entire natural of the Terran, is something that we see a lot of comebacks based off of. I put it that way. Is it a good position for the Terran? No. But can they use the other things in their arsenal to bring the game back? Absolutely. He has stim, he has upgrades, the combat shield's still going to time out about the time you would want them to. And he can use his technology, something that Stephano doesn't really have, to try and recover this game. So what he really needs to do here is either go for at least a big creep cleanup, finding the creep tumor queens as well. That's one of the options. Or Bob a 4th would have been another option. Would have been a really great option. Or kill about 20 drones of his own. Because the attack's hitting later than the Roaches did. So he would also need to do about 20 drones of the damage. I mean, either one of those things brings you back into the game. 20 drones, probably the most, would bring you back into the game. But also that 4th base would have been really nice to grab. Stephano, unfortunately, with lots of Ling coverage. Botvinnik was inevitably going to fly over something. A Ling, creep, overlord, what have you. So the natural doesn't really work out too well. Spore Pearl even gets placed here to help out a little bit. He might go ahead and show us that fancy micro against the Banelings once more, but it's not really going to get the opportunity. He went after the Extractor instead, which is always a little bit of like a, okay, was that really worth it? But, you know, sometimes it can be, especially if the follow-up is going to be mutas. It's not, though. So Botvinnik will still have the potential of drops to bring him back into this game, but he needs to keep this alive. He needs to keep, like, everything alive. So far doing an okay job at that. Botvinnik is now 3rd CC, 50 workers, only down by 17, and he's muling 3 mules at a time now, like, starting to bring it back up there. But Stephano has certainly gotten a very large lead. Drop still being microed. They really do want to stall out the creep spread, because Stephano doesn't exactly have a lot of queens. He's got 2 extra queens right now. So, it would be a bit of a pain for him to clean up, but... Oh, it needs to be so on top of these units. Stephano even trying to find Botvinnik, not paying attention. Absolutely, Terran players will go a certain distance, about this much off of creep, and go, they won't go any farther, I'm fine, and then they lose all their units. So, good that Botvinnik was actually paying attention. Lurkerden is on the way. Ooh, Stephano playing around with that new style. Good scan from Botvinnik, very good scan. Sees both the Hive potential and the Lurkerden. You see an infestation, but you know it's Hive, alright? Basically the same thing. Bit of a triple drop over to the left side. Gonna be scouted by this Overlord first. Now, whether it's scouted or not isn't necessarily what determines if it's gonna be effective. Well, okay. Well. The Marines dying determines if it's gonna be effective. I was going to say that, like, just having the presence there is sometimes worth the committal of those units, because you're not doing a main push anyways. So, like, why not have the drop just at least scare your opponent? But he had to pay attention to the right at the exact time he also had to pay attention to the left, so... Bop! Bop! Now, Botvinnik has already... We talked about it. He's already shown weakness and admitted weakness in PMs to the Lurker style. So seeing the Lurkerden on the way for Stephano does not make him feel pretty good, I would guess. He certainly has, I think, recovered in this game to a point we're going to see a macro game. He's got 2-2 ahead of his opponent, so 3-3 is also ahead like it should be in TvZ. And his army supply is high enough that he's not going to get bowled over. Especially because Stephano is teching right now and not moving out. But yeah, even if he was, defensively Botvinnik is probably okay. But it does mean that he has no momentum. He has no control over the game. He is entirely at the whim of Stephano. Because this drop really didn't do anything to bring him back. Give him any room to wiggle. So he's got to go into late game mode, basically. More command centers. Well, this isn't very good by Stephano. This is extremely awkward. This was extremely awkward. I mean, good boy. It looked like a run-by at first that wasn't being controlled, and then the rest of the army came about 1 billion years later. Alright, anyways. Oh, I heard another Liberator. There it is. Okay, that was kind of tricky, 2 Liberators. No, Jesus! Oh my god! Little overeager there, little overeager. Not a whole lot of Hydras left over. 1 Medevac goes down, but still very capable of doing drops and trying to pull this Zerg out of position. What was I saying before? Oh, that's Botvinnik needs to just do late game TvZ. So more bases, maybe into Ghosts and Liberators, right? And he does have a Ghost Academy on the way. He had the right tools in that one Lurker game against Aras. He just didn't have the right hands. He needed to be a little bit quicker on picking up and moving his army and that type of thing. So he has already prepared mentally for this. He's already been practiced against this today, so he might do a lot better. And this seems a bit questionable by Stephano as well. It is a choke still. And oh, he accidentally runs into the Banelings. I think his eyes got wide. He saw those Lurkers a little clumped up there, but then the Banelings got those connections. Even still, that was a lot of Lurkers to have to combat, so even without the Banelings, I think the Lurkers would have still won out the battle. Might have looked a little bit better for Botvinnik, but right now it actually looks like the devastating GG low type of Lurker run by. I think this did too much damage. That's unfortunate. He actually was not too poorly set up to deal with something like that, really. But now the Zerg flood is really coming in. Lings coming in from every single direction. It looks like a campaign mission. Botvinnik is dead. He is dead. It's a surround of Lurkers, which is nice, but now his would-be fifth has to be lifted. He lost 44 SCVs, as I guess the Lurkers are also hitting this base here. Yeah. The dream is dead. Stephano getting some serious revenge for that T-Rex earlier on by immediately following up a 3rd CC scout with an all-in that worked out. And Botvinnik could not do anything to make up for that damage. So we go into game 3.
Warning. Philanthropist programs detected in comm server 04.
I joined a game, but the player is not even in yet. Thank you very much, Bali, for gifting a sub. Appreciate that. Okay, that was the wrong map. Bim, bim, bim. Game number 3 on the way. Both players getting early leads to set them up for the macro game. Maybe Pillars of Gold will look different. Maybe it'll be completely even. Maybe it'll be another 2-racks. I don't see any SCVs on the way, so I'm not going to risk that. In the top right of Pillars of Gold, we got Stephano. In the bottom left, against the, as the Yellow Terran, sorry, it is Botvinnik. Would one Raven there have helped? Don't know if baiting my rant about Ravens again on the same map that I already did rant it on, or actual question. I'm pretty sure you actually weren't here for my initial rant about Ravens. No. His detection wasn't the problem. Raven would have done nothing, really. If a Raven could interference matrix a lurker, it might be helpful. But, well, you could definitely get a Raven versus lurkers, and it's not a terrible idea. Especially because they don't have, they're depending on Hydras for their anti-air, which will have trouble, actually, hopefully, reaching a Raven. It's not what killed Botvinnik in that game. And you'd much rather just have enough orbitals to always have a scan ready. Because, again, you don't want to really swap off your starport to build a Raven and then back on a Medivacs. And then back to a Raven if you ever lose that Raven, and then back on a Medivacs. And also, Medivacs and Liberators, both being, I think, better options. Alright, so that was a pool first. Stephano, I think, a little bit scared of the 2-racks, but also starting things off in, once again, his favor. Even if it's only by a little bit. Ooh. It looked like an extractor trick, because he was at 25 out of 24 for a while there, but I think that actually might have been a change of mind. I'm not sure. He realized he was being SCV scouted. Regardless, Lings show up. Lings die. Not gonna quite get that SCV kill. I'll get the Marine, though. And it looks like Botvinnik did wait for 2 Marines plus a Reaper out of that barracks, so his reactor's going to be a little oddly timed. SCV not going to go down. The saves. No SCV's lost. Some time on the command center, yes, which is generally what the Zerg expect. But they want the SCV, of course, but they don't expect to delay in the command center. And then I think it also got into the main to scout. It was a 3rd CC build. You know what? No, it did not. No, it did not. It went to the south. And didn't see this gas geyser, much less this one, I think. I don't actually know. It did scout it, right? Because You know what? It might have. Stephano might know. I mean, is he thinking about it right now? Is he thinking about that later gas? I don't know. Especially because what if it was about to be thrown down because things got a little topsy-turvy? Pretty bold of Botvinnik to go for another 3cc build. Some might say it's as bold as going for another 2-rack, so. But if Stephano doesn't know about it, he's not going to just see the 3rd CC like he did last time. Then he's definitely not going to do that all in. Most likely not going to do that all in. And he's certainly not doing it now. Hellions going for the scout, though. Definitely want to get that check. I mean, what if Stephano was just trying to end this game nice and quick? Botvinnik going for the 3rd hatch scout. Sees everything is in line, is in order. Botvinnik generally going up to 6 Hellions, even with the 3rd CC build. And into that stim. Seems to be a bio guy. Simple upgrade build from Stephano, no fast lair. Botvinnik hasn't done much scouting, but he's been pretty loose with the scans. He's actually bothered scanning when other Terrans would be very greedy and just say no scans ever. It is going to be, again, bio with Sim on the way. He's going to get his gases soon enough. Don't know what that was shooting. Hellion's getting very bold. He went up to 8 Hellions. He went up to sacrificial Hellion numbers, but the Ling concave is actually pretty good. Alright. Ling's on this side, Ling's on that side, all together in a line. There weren't that many, but perfectly placed to defend against the Hellion run by. Nicely done. When you see 8 Hellions, either they misread the situation and are just consistently building Hellions because they think there's Lings on the way, which is unlikely. Or they're about to sacrifice them and try and get to a couple of cheeky drone kills. Which is exactly what Botvinnik tried to do. Exactly what Stephano was very good at defending. Guess my question is, Stephano, does he go for lurkers again? Kind of feeling it. If he was going for a Spire, I think we'd see it 100 gas ago. After the Bailing Nest, sure, but then right after the Bailing Nest, or as soon as you get 200 gas. Viking. It's got 3 kills. That's pretty good. And it lives. Alright. Still no Hydralisk Den. Or Infestation Pit. Kind of even expecting the Infestation Pit at this point, going straight up to Hive. 5th base being guarded. Creeps are being pushed out. Botvinnik is almost ready to go with his push. He's got 2 Medivacs on the way. Nicely timed out stim. Combat shields 1-1. Because Stephano went for not a fast lair, not fast Spire, skipped his Bailing Nest for, extended period of time, because he got such nice upgrade timings, he's going to have faster upgrades than his opponent. And that should leap into 2-2 as well. They're Hydralisk Den now. At least Botvinnik won't have to be worried about mutas flying around. So he should take advantage of his drops, but also not have to worry about his main base being hit. Still has to worry about Ling run-bys, of course. Right in a 2-2. Nicely timed there. Hellions go to the left, drops to the right. Creep spread every direction is going to be able to give at least some advance notice to Stephano. And he's got a decent amount of Bailings, that's for sure, but nothing on the left side against just 4 Hellions. A couple of drones will be going down. 3... 8. Ooh. 8 is certainly not bad, and a couple more on top of that. Stephano knows this is a 1-2 punch, though, so his Bailings are already prepared, and I'm worried. Oh, Botvinnik is paying attention. I was very worried he wasn't paying attention. Barely scoops up the other half of that drop. Ooh. 12 drones go down. That's a nice pick off for that many Hellions. Dropping the main's not very effective at all, and those Marines being so weak, a couple of them lose their lives, building a wall to the left side Unfortunately, walling here is actually very awkward. The rock terrain means that if you build like you think you would, it actually still is an open wall here. Very obnoxious. This is actually me just personally being offended by it. But I think it's also why Botvinnik's not doing it. Because he could have done like this wall. It's also a larger wall, to be fair. It's like twice as many supply depots. But over here, Stephano, if he does just randomly select his units across the map, they will be AI'd through the actual attack path of Botvinnik's reinforcements. So hopefully Botvinnik will be able to clean it up. See what he would like to have happen. Stephano thinks about going for this round on one of these tanks, but a medevac is nearby every single one, so that run by was not too effective. 2-2 seems like it was started fairly late. I don't know if it's actually that much later. I think Stephano's actually had really well timed 2-2. Oh boy, he is ready to collapse into this army. The tank's not siege. The Marines a little late to that spread, and Stephano takes a gigantic leap in supply. Oh, that was not so good towards the end. It was actually shy of Stephano's 2-2, funnily enough, but he pounced on an overly aggressive Botvinnik. Botvinnik thought he had time to get on creep. He thought he had time to siege up his tanks. Instead, the tanks that were sieged got very few shots and not any decent shots. And the other ones just simply weren't sieged. Bad start to his 8 racks. He is going 3 base all in here. And that is a terrible start for the 8 racks. Now Stephano has those upgrades for such a long time. Didn't lose any of those Hydras, or very many of them. Didn't lose any of them, so the more expensive backline units continue to help out. And, well, Botvinnik, I don't think you change your plans from here, but you do have to take a bit of a breather and hope they mismanage the follow-up push, your actual 2-2 push. Big attack to the left side is going to be able to buzz through those supply depots, and Botvinnik just doesn't have it in him to actually... When this happens at this time, it's not a big deal. But now that Stephano has opened the floodgates, whenever it happens the next time, Botvinnik doesn't have the resources to send over there. I actually don't like Stephano being aggressive. I like that he busted down the supply depot so he could do a run-by, since Botvinnik will be so focused on his 8 racks attack. He's going to be just literally just sending units across the map and focusing entirely on the push. He probably would die to a run-by. Now that the supply depots are open. Wouldn't have the amount of units necessary to defend it. Wouldn't have the time, focus to defend it. But Stephano pushing into Botvinnik, I mean, it's not only unnecessary, it's also when his army is obviously much worse. It's off the creep. So I'm glad Stephano pulled back. Maybe he didn't realize it was an 8 racks all in, which is fair, but now he's like, oh, okay, I know what this is. Okay, I gotcha. So you should be a little more conservative. You know that this can suddenly snowball. You think you have it under control, and there's 8 Marines left over, and you have no banelings, and you go, oh, really? Seriously? 8 Marines? It's happened before. +1 missile actually going to finish up, too. So Stephano's going to have still kind of an upgrade lead. SCV is just being pulled away from the baneling harassments. Go back to mining. Botvinnik, it's going to be difficult to control this army and actually win with this push, as well as defend his bases. That's exactly what he's looking for. Finishing up that +1 vehicle weapons will help. And he still certainly has enough SCVs to produce Marines. Stephano already has a hive, could very willingly give up this base. Should not try to defend this. There's no reason to. I mean, maybe he could, but there's really no reason to try. Still lots of creep spread for Botvinnik to get through, and there's just not really a chance for... Like, Botvinnik should actually throw down a 4th CC. You don't think about transitioning away from this build, but he probably should, just because he's banking so many minerals. Why not? That is a very large Zerg force running through here, and there is not a lot left back at home. Command Center might just live as the Hydras aren't going to die for that. Botvinnik just gives up the base. He's still going to maybe get maxed out if he can hold the natural. But, ooh, so much creeps to be looked through. Oh, the Marines on the left side are being controlled nicely. Tanks in no way helping that left side army. Is a little bit awkward. These banelings are about to finish. Is Botvinnik going to be able to take them all out? No, he can't. Oh, and on creep. And with the banelings and lings coming back from home. That's going to be GG. Botvinnik Yeah, a little too weak in the TvZ today. Has another 2 qualifiers to try and make